Boom, I'm in the room. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Tim Hill podcast and everyday conversations regarding mental health. You're here because there's nothing on the tally. And I'm coming to you live from the old Hill Manor. Now, I've had a glitch tonight. I've had another little bit of a problem. My guest, unfortunately, hasn't been able to join me. Don't know what the reason is. However, I have got something that I want to have a chat about. So, Tuesdays I do the live awesome quiz. Don't forget to go over there every Tuesday. Got another great quiz coming up. Size matters. That's all I'm saying. You know what I mean? Size matters. So the Duchess, she's put it together. It's all ready to go. So come and join us next Tuesday. We go live at Hopper State. This is all about mental health, mental well-being, and taking the stigma out of it. Now, tonight I want to have a chat about something that's close to my heart. Well, actually close to me bum, actually. Gonna have a look at prostate trouble. Now, the reason there's no sound is because I haven't clicked the right button. Oh no! I'll start again. You obviously got the first bit. Going to talk about prostate trouble. So mine happened about probably 7 or 8 years ago. I was getting up a little bit more often in the night than I should have done. The flow had slowed down a little bit, which is kind of an indication that there's something ain't quite right. So I was seeing the doctor anyway because of my rheumatoid arthritis. So I just happened to mention this, and she said, well, I'll do the digit exam. So the old gloves come in, and away she went. It was a little bit uncomfortable, I mean, you laid on the bench on your side, you got your legs up, your knees up around your chin. And yeah, she says, well, it's a little bit inflamed. At long last, you put the slider up. No, it wasn't the slider. The slider was up anyway. It was the button on the... Because I put a new scene in. This scene was for the guest. And I'm normally muted when the guest is doing this bit. That's why it happened. Sorry, Keith. So, anyway, continuing the story. What she says, right, we'll get you a blood test and see what that comes back. So, when the blood test, that came back, the PSA level was a little bit higher than it should have been. So she said, what we'll do, we'll refer you to urology. So a few weeks later, I got an appointment to go and see the urologist. And he did exactly the same thing. The old rubber gloves went on. Get on the couch. Knees to your chin. Way! It's uncomfortable. He said, yeah, confirm it's a little bit inflamed. Do another blood test. And that came back and it was a little bit higher than it should have been. It was around about 6.7 or something like that, as far as I can remember. So he said, what we'll do is we'll do what they call prostate mapping. What's that entail? He says, well, we take some samples of your prostate. I said, I hope you've got plenty of blokes to hold me down. He said, it's fine. Don't worry about that. We'll knock you out. So they put me under general anaesthetic, mainly because they couldn't find enough blokes to hold me down. So they did this and they took, I think, 32 samples from my prostate. I thought it wasn't that big, was it? So it came back and it was benign, it's fine, just a little bit inflamed. Quite normal, apparently. So they put me on alvastatin or something. So I've been on that ever since, and we've had it reviewed every year. Every year I'll go and have a blood test, they review it. It had gone up to about 9 at one stage. It's down to about, I think, 6.7 at the moment. Was the last time I had it done. So anybody, sort of a gentleman around my sort of age, sort of your mid to late 50s, early 60s, if you're having a little bit of trouble with how waterworks, you're getting up 2 or 3 times in the night, the flow's slowed down a little bit, what I would suggest, at the earliest opportunity, go and try and get an appointment with a quack, have it checked out. Generally, it's uncomfortable slightly when you get a digit exam with the rubber gloves. And they do a blood test. And with prostrate nowadays, it is treatable. You can treat it. It's not the killer it used to be, but it can still be a killer. Now, the reason it's a killer is because blokes don't go and get it checked out early enough. So my advice is, if you are notice something that ain't quite right, then go and get it checked out, because it could save your life. It's as simple as that. You go and get it checked out, and if there is something wrong with it, they can deal with it. And the earlier they catch it, the easier it is to deal with. It's as simple as that. Now, there's a mate of mine going through this sort of process himself. He came to me, he's a little bit concerned about what's going to happen and all the rest of it. He's going through his prostate mapping in a couple of weeks' time, another week or so's time. Said, don't worry about it. It's not a problem. It's pointless worrying about it because there's nothing you can do about it until you find out about it. And then there's no point in worrying about it because you can do something about it. So anyway, he's a little bit nervous. I can understand that. I was. There's another mate of mine who he's doing a charity event. He's doing a cycling event or something to raise some money for prostate cancer. So there you go. That's what it's all about. So have I got much more to say about it all? Well, I mean, cancer nowadays, it's a lot more treatable than it ever used to be. Now, with this prostate malarkey, it can play on your mind. It can have an effect on your mental well-being. I mean, it had me concerned for a little while, but having a chat with a doctor, having a chat with a specialist, a urologist, he put my mind at ease. He said that there's nothing to worry about. You're fine. We just keep an eye on it. You go once a year. You get it checked out. You have a blood test. Piece of cake. And if it does start changing, then they do something about it. So you catch it early. It's the old rheumatoid arthritis, which is the bugger. I mean, look at the state of them maulers. And there's just keep taking the pills for that. Now, I can tell a little bit about rheumatoid arthritis. I've got osteoarthritis going on as well. But they started us off on, this was about the same sort of time, about 7 or 8 years ago, that we discovered I've got rheumatoid. And they put us on a drug called methotrexate. With that, you have to have blood tests every week, and they have to adjust the dose that they give you every week. They're changing it, and this went on for months and months and months, and got it under control. I still struggle all the time. I have flares occasionally, but they weaned us off of the methotrexate, and they put us on this other drug called leflunomide. And I take one of those a day, and it generally keeps it under control. The fact that I live in pain all the time, I mean, that's the bit that people don't get, is, I mean, you get the flares now and then, but it's the joint pain that goes with it, and it's painful all the bloody time. Some days I struggle at getting out of bed, really struggle. It's so painful, and it takes a while to get up. Pop a few brufen, so I get brufen as well. And that generally helps out, takes the pain away. I've tried all sorts of painkillers, but for me, I think brufen is probably the only one that works. So again, if you're struggling with joint pain and stuff like that, go and get checked out. The sooner you get checked out, the easier it is to deal with. That's my advice. I know it's a difficult subject to talk about, but when you go and see the doctors, the quacks, they're used to talking about it. And when you go to see the specialist, you're surrounded by people in the same boat. So that's what I would say. So for now, I think I've covered enough of that for one evening. So until next week, hopefully I'll have a guest for next week. Keep us fingers crossed. And we'll have another discussion around mental well-being. Mental health matters. It's important. It's a lot more important nowadays than it's ever been. In the past, what we've done is we've covered it up. We've hidden it. We've pushed it under the carpet. We don't talk about it. Now it's easier to talk about. And I'm passionate about it. Having suffered a little bit of the post-traumatic stuff myself, the stuff I've seen, I mean, civvies that die. they would just end it all. But been a soldier all my life, seen what I've seen, it's tough. And yeah, it occasionally comes back and gives you a nudge, just reminds you that you're not as tough as you are fragile. But it helps to talk about it. It helps to talk to people that have been in the same situation. So there you go. If you are struggling, if you are having those nightmares, if you are struggling at sleeping, if a trauma in your past is playing havoc with you, go and have a chat with somebody about it. There are plenty of people out there to help. Sometimes it can just be a stranger that you sit and have a chat with. Other times it might be a close friend. Might be a family member. Might be your doctor, if you can get an appointment with a doctor. But there's always somebody out there to help. So, you lovely people, until next week, TTFN. Ta-ta for now.